Welcome to episode 70 of the Loane Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about Russian goalie from the Tampa Bay Lightning, who's been a star in Tampa Bay for a very long time now. That is Andrei Vasilevskiy. And Andrei Vasilevskiy, ever since he's entered the league, and he entered the league over a decade ago. And I remember when he had such a good playoff run in the 2015 playoffs when he was the backup for Ben Bishop at that time and he was playing really good hockey. Even though he was backing up, he was still showing really good foundational, positional, and many different other elements in terms of his tactics that really allowed him to translate through that playoff run. And then beyond that point, he continued to get better. And ever since then, he's been one of the premier goalies in the league and right up there in terms of the best goalies in the league. And it seems to be a theme that Russian goalies somehow are always the best in the modern day NHL, but there's a lot of nuances to Vasilevsky's game, and particularly you notice sometimes he has those eyes, those acute level eyes, where he's keenly focused during the play in between whistles and stuff like that. There's been many different images posted about that. So obviously he's intensely focused, but going and diving deeper into his play, what really stands out to me the most is his lateral agility and his lateral flexibility within his groin area and how well he's able to be flexible and efficient within his flexibility. And it's so hard sometimes because he makes saves look so easy, especially when he's hyperextending, moving laterally. It's really amazing to watch. And he's honestly, he has to be one of the best, if not the best goalie at moving laterally in terms of lateral flexibility as well, because it's so hard as a goalie from a positional standpoint at some points during the games to be able to stop cross ice plays from actually occurring and cross ice shots from actually occurring. And what he's able to do a really good job of, he's able to not necessarily anticipate it, but he can extend and overextend using his flexibility and his legs to be able to get to the play and make the save. And that's really remarkable because we talked about Igor Shesterkin very briefly and how he's really good with his anticipation. He's still flexible, but what really allows him to drive his play and increases his anticipation, his thinking, and how he's proactive in terms of getting to his angle. So that allows him to be less reliant on overextending in certain circumstances and more reliant on positioning. With Vasilevskiy, I've noticed it's more in terms of adaptation, which is actually works in favor of him from time to time because that adaptability, those instincts, and how that drives him into his positional play and how well he can actually move in the crease. And his skating flexibility is obviously tremendous. His outside edges, ability to hold his outside edges and push off his edges is really fantastic to watch. But when you look at his lateral movement and how well he can stop shots, again, not necessarily through anticipation, but through that movement, being able to stop plays through those movements is really remarkable. And it's really fantastic. It's a really big driving point in his game and how well he's able to be a consistent goalie in the league. Very consistent goalie analytically, too, making high danger saves. And I remember there was an interesting talking point with him where he's one of the lower percentage of goalies at stopping pucks from the point. And so that's an interesting thing when it's talking about him because sometimes there's deflections, and I've actually noticed this during some of his games. Sometimes there's deflections or screens, and that actually hinders his ability to stop shots from afar. He's actually really good at stopping shots in close, but from afar, I haven't exactly figured out why either. But from afar, he seems to have a little bit more issue when it comes to trying to make saves. And some of those goals come from further out, and they can even come from the point from time to time as well. But in terms of his actual strengths, being able to stop those high danger shots is really a foundational component to his game. He's really good at locking down angles and being able to be positionally congruent inside high danger areas and being able to lock his positioning down in the crease and maintain his focus. So with him having that ability to stop dangerous saves and make saves above expected, because that's what I've noticed with him is in terms of his analytics, he actually makes more saves above expected. So he's generating more saves than the models would actually show as to things that could end up as goals and shots that could end up as goals. So with Vasilevskiy making those saves above expected, he's clearly outperforming his ability and based on the models in and of itself. But more so in his raw abilities, raw foundation, raw tactical ability to again understand how to adapt to those angles, understand how to adapt to certain circumstances, and be able to make high and medium danger saves. And with him, his ability to use the butterfly is also really positionally sound, moving laterally as well. And that's a big standout thing when it comes to him is being able to move in the butterfly and move with efficiency in the butterfly. Now, from time to time, you might see some 5-hole openings and stuff like that because you can, again, you can hyperextend. So sometimes that hyperextends the 5-hole as well. But with Vasilevskiy, what I really like is how he can maintain his positioning, maintain his pads on the ice. So he can seal his pads to the ice really nicely and really smooth, and he is very much in control of how he uses his pads, how he uses his push-offs to be able to extend moving laterally in the butterfly. And obviously, again, him being a hybrid style goalie, like many of these goalies are in the modern day era, he's able to move freely as a stand-up goalie, moving laterally, and also in the butterfly. So that allows him to have advantageous situations and be able to control pucks in certain areas. And good with his blockers, technically sound with his blocker, and he's gotten better over the years with his glove as well. And typically, it's a weaker point for most goalies because sometimes they like to leave their glove hanging down a little bit. It's sometimes a bad habit for goalies because they have to be taught to keep their glove and their blocker up. And sometimes it can wear and tear on their arms. Not necessarily tear their arms, but can wear out your arms pretty fast. And they have to learn how to continuously adapt to make sure that they keep those blocker and the glove up and they keep it positioned and in not necessarily motion, but they keep it in a way that's allowing them to control their positioning. So with Vasilevskiy, he's done a much better job over the years at being able to adapt his glove and being able to control his glove, manage his glove side, and be able to track pucks and not allow easy rebounds off his glove side. And with him, he's sound in the post as well. He's very fluid coming off the post and transitioning from post to the top of the crease, but also back and the other way around as well. And so that allows him to seal the post quickly, be able to be in position, be able to lock down the red line area and the goal line area, and be able to make saves from those areas. And from time to time, you get players who can shoot from there, players who can score from there. So his ability to actually lock down those angles is really important, and being able to shut down those plays with a higher frequency in terms of how he's able to make those saves as well. So with Vasilevskiy, there's a lot of different elements when it comes to his foundation and how well he's able to tactically maneuver in the net. And at the same time, you notice a lot of analytics that actually resonate with his game in a positive way and show that the numbers are actually translating to his actual ability. And so obviously he's a premier goalie, but the stats actually back that up too. So when you have both, that's a really good thing. And obviously, there are a lot of goalies that are elite in the league that typically back it up with numbers. And I would say it's a little bit easier to back up your, if you're an elite goalie, to back it up with numbers compared to forwards and defensemen. It's not as easy to back up. Say if you're top pairing defenseman, it's not necessarily the same, and you could still be a negative impact in terms of analytics and stuff like that. But with goalies, it's a little bit more based on how they're able to make saves. And obviously, they have not necessarily less of a job to do, but they have less positioning and less area to cover because they're only focused on the area in and around their crease and to be able to make those saves. So it gives an advantage for higher quality goalies in terms of analytics to be able to generate stops and be able to have more efficiency in their numbers as well. And Vasilevskiy, like I said, obviously very efficient with his numbers and overall stats, and he backs it up really well on top of that.